if you're a woman who comes out later in life, uh, basically meaning that you were married to a man and you had kids with him and then you realized you were gay, so many people are going to be like, why would you marry him? You're a narcissist. You're selfish. You duped him. You held him hostage. How about some of us were raised in a super high control religion where we were taught to literally, and we're conditioned to be heterosexual from infancy, and that the only good thing we could ever do in this life was to marry a man and have his children. And then when we dismantled all of that, then we realized, oh, that's why I've been fantasizing about dying forever. Oh, it's because I'm gay. And I thought the only way out of this was to die. But no, actually, I'm just gay. Okay, great. I'm going to go be gay now. I'm going to release us. Yeah. People don't realize how conditioned we are to be heterosexual, not even just from high control religion, from society in general.
I want to say this real quick. Being heterosexual is not a conditioning. It is the way the world works. Like, there is no reproduction without man and woman. Like, male and female, like, that's just the way it's designed. It's not a conditioning. It's not some sort of dismantling that needs to happen. It's proof of how life works is through procreation, and that can only happen with male and female. And you know what I've learned to understand about many conversations is that most people don't want to be honest. They don't want to be honest. They want what they want. I mean, it's all of us, not just others, but even me. Like, there are times I'm praying, I'm like, Lord, I want what I want, and I'm struggling because I know what I want is not right or is not what I need. And I just say, help me. And it would be just so much better if people would just be honest. But again, why would I expect that when many times people aren't humble enough to be honest. They don't want to be humble and say, you know what, I do know that by design, God made it for man and woman to be together. But I just don't want that. I have an attraction that is opposite of God's design, and I want to pursue it. It's better to just say that, but a lot of times they're just going to be dishonest. All of the proof is there. They'll get in same-sex relationships, and they still need, like two women, they'll still need the sperm of a man, right? And then, two men get in the same-sex relationship, but they still need the egg of a woman to get. And it's just like, you have to be stubborn and just suppressing truth to not see, like, God designed it to where it's a man and a woman. That's what the design is. There's no indoctrination happening to make us heterosexual. It is how we are created. It is just what it is. We're wired. And it's almost like saying, if that's the case, she's just gay. Okay, cool. Let's concede that she's just gay. She was indoctrinated and she wasn't supposed to be heterosexual. She was supposed to be gay. What about the many men and women who claim to not be able to be with one person? Are they just selfish? Are they greedy? Or were they just born that way? Were they indoctrinated and need to dismantle monogamy? And it just goes on and on and on and on and on. And it's like conversations like this, like, I don't mind having a conversation. It could just be a bit irritating because people aren't honest. Like, there's no way she could have had her children without being with a man. It just wasn't going to happen. You were going to need a man. So I think a lot of times people just want to talk and they want to make excuses for what they're doing, so they get online and they blame everything but the fact that they want to do what they want. That's what we're typically our own problem. We want to do what we want to do, even though we don't have peace about it. So we just get online and lie and blame everything else. So now you were indoctrinated. And yeah, we do know that there are practices of faith that do things in ways that's unbiblical, that's damaging. But heterosexuality is not that kind of practice. It's designed, it's in our DNA to be heterosexual. And when someone has a same-sex attraction, it doesn't mean that, how do I say this? It doesn't mean that they don't have heterosexual in their DNA. They just have a wayward or rebellious attraction. And if you're trying to live a life of faith, God helps with that. You know, and it's not like, and it's like we catapult our sexual attraction to be the end all be all of who we are, when there are other things that we have wayward mentalities about, like how we handle money, how we treat people, how we take care of our bodies, you know, how we see God. There are other things, but for whatever reason, there's this agenda. And then we also know that the devil is busy and there's nothing new under the sun. So all this confusion and stuff, it's been here since the beginning of the time. It's all this other stuff, but they just want to prioritize this area of their life. And the deception is that what you feel in terms of sexual attraction is who you are, and that's such a huge lie. And if you want to pursue it, just say that. That's my thing. Just say it, sis. Stop blaming everybody and everything else. You don't have a family, a husband, you have children. You know how life works. You see how biology works. It's not an indoctrination. It's literally how life works. But you want to get on here and blame everything, but that. Let me let her finish out.
And then we're called selfish and narcissistic for coming out later. Like, give me a break. Give me a break. There are so many reasons why people don't realize they're gay until later in life. Like, come on. The ignorance. Ugh. It's just mind numbing. The ignorance around sexuality and just society in general. Like, if you are coming into my comments or any other late in life lesbian who posts publicly online and asking her why she married a man and that's selfish that she's coming out, you have no idea what you're talking about, and you're just telling on yourself. You're just telling on yourself how there's not much going on up here. Yeah.
Isn't that interesting?
And this is men and women commenting these things. Yeah.
It's interesting.
I'm
that when you don't agree with them.
Praying for you guys, but I'm praying to Lilith.
It's interesting when you don't agree with people, you know, that's a problem. Or when it's just simple, like, you can't disagree with them because if you disagree, then you're ignorant. It's like, no, I'm just pushing back on what you're saying because I don't agree. If it's so much validity to it, then let's have a discussion without name calling. But that's what people usually get into, insults, name calling, because the framework doesn't hold any weight. So they become accusatory, like, oh, you're not loving, you know, they say things like that, or you're hateful, or you're ignorant. Why do they resort to this? Because that's a tactic to make them either feel better about what they're doing or to try to silence you. Like, there's no hate in my heart for this young lady. I hope the best for her in her life and that she finds her way. But the idea that someone says, oh, I'm gay later in life after being married, like, and then blaming religion on it as if, you know, like I said, I'm not saying that maybe she didn't have some sort of religious experience that was unbecoming. I'm not dissing that. I'm not saying that maybe she wrestled with the idea of having same-sex attraction and she thought like getting married would help with that. I'm not saying any of that. But what I am saying is to try to say, oh, religion and being indoctrinated and all of that, I had to dismantle that so I could just decide to be gay. No, it's not just religion. It's natural life happening before us day in, day out. This is not a new thing. And that's my biggest issue with the conversation with her. It's like she's trying to make it seem like, oh, this is something that we don't understand. That's like history doesn't already speak to this. No, history has already spoken to this. You know, present day has already spoken to it. Science has already spoken to it. Everyday life speaks to it. There is no other design that works for humankind, for a relationship, other than man and woman. Point blank, period. If you have an attraction or desire outside that, that's a whole other conversation. But don't try to blame religion. Don't try to, make excuses. Just come to the front of the classroom and let's have a respectful conversation and see where it goes. But y'all let me know what y'all think in the comment section. I'll catch y'all in the next video.